recently I've had quite a few conversations with various different people on various different subjects, but there's been something that keeps on coming back, and something which I have felt more and more kind of restricted by. And I guess the way of describing it is labelling each other, labelling as a way of describing what's going on for someone, putting a label on it because it's just a way of communicating on one level, or because that helps us understand it potentially on another level. But actually, in reality, in my experience, when we label things, we immediately kind of shrink it and squash it into a box that it doesn't really belong in. So, a small example is how many times recently I've been talking to people, more and more people who are becoming much more aware of veganism and why veganism is on the increase. Lots of people, including myself, we've been watching documentaries and kind of looking at research and all that kind of thing, thinking about our health, thinking about the environment, hearing and learning about the environmental impact of meat and, the animal eating and consuming anything of animal. And actually more and more people are struggling with that and wanting to make a change. But actually there's a real theme that none of us want to call ourselves vegans. Why do we not want to call ourselves vegans? Because it's a massive change of lifestyle. It's a massive step. It needs to be fully understood. And I guess we don't feel ready for that. And the other argument I hear is a lot of people saying they don't want that label because of the community around them. They don't want the community around them to have the reaction that they know they're going to have, whether it be a partner, a parent, an in-law, a child, whatever that relationship or that, that dynamic is. I've heard it many, many times from myself and from others. The label of being a vegan seems to be met with fear, negativity, misunderstanding, and there's several of us that are not ready to make that call. So that's an interesting thing, why that label would bring that up for us. And then there's the obvious label that I hear a lot through work and through just local conversation with parents, that their child or their children have got diagnoses that are X, Y, and Z. Autism, Asperger's, ADHD, I've changed the label, ADHD, it goes on and on. There's hundreds of labels. And my background is in mental health, nursing and therapy, and I'm used to the language that comes with that. But the more that I grow, the more I believe that those labels are unhelpful. I feel like that when you bring a label into a parent-child relationship or an adult-child relationship, those labels can only create negative issues. Immediately you're just saying to the child, you are this. You are this. And actually what I want to be able to say to the child is, these are the things that make you you at this time, in this season. These are the things, then these aspects of you, these aspects of you is what we're going to be spending more time with or working on or processing or learning about or whatever. More than just she has all Asperger's, so that's why she does that. Or I hear a lot of excuses. Well, he's got ADHD, So that's just going to happen because he's got ADHD. And I genuinely don't find those labels freeing, empowering, helpful between the adult and child relationship. I'm not sure how helpful they are between child and child, because the child surely can't fully understand that label. And actually, when we label things, people, situations, when we label them, we immediately stop then exploring that. It's almost like, okay, that's that. I don't quite understand it, so I'm going to step back. Or, I know what that means. Or I'm not quite, and we start to go into this, again, negative pattern of reaction and behaviour. I feel like we can be imprisoned by a label. I'm not sure where the positivity comes by labelling things, people, situations. It doesn't allow any freedom for growth, for learning, for changing. My child might be like this in this season, with this environment and with this community, but in the next, surely there's change, growth, adaptation, better understanding, maturity, healing, hope, But actually, is she going to get from here to here if I've labelled her? If I've squished her in a box and said, that's you, clip, clip, clip? I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's going to happen. There are obviously good things for having a label, like funding opportunities, getting better support from services, having a language that you can place upon a set of behaviours. But I think it's very, very important that we use the label wisely. We tread carefully, almost holding it as if it's a delicate butterfly, and thinking very, very carefully about how and when or why that label should be used. It's almost like we just need to control and treat these situations that our children are in. And in order to do that safely and with a big group of 30 in a class, or, you've got a family of 4 and it's, one person has a diagnosis, maybe that helps us control it and then treat it. But in the long term, in the long run, does it really serve that purpose? In that big classroom, how helpful really is that label? I think it would be good to really ask ourselves a bit more about the label that we use, choose, are given, are being asked to get diagnosed. Why? What's the benefits? If we have that label, that given diagnosis, that understanding upon something, what am I going to do with that information? How is that going to empower, free, develop my child? I'm specifically talking now about children, but I believe it's the same for us adults. I worked as an addictions nurse therapist for a while, and I often found that when a alcoholic, for example, was in recovery and been dry for a while and was doing well, some of them found real comfort in being able to still say, I'm an alcoholic, because it kept them away from the drink. It helped their psychology to be an alcoholic because it allowed them to touch the ugliness of where they will not go again. Equally, I had clients who found it very, very difficult to still be in that trap of that label. And actually that label made them feel insecure, feel like a failure, feel like, what's the point? And they would often say to me that the label was a prison. So what can we learn from this? I think for me personally, I want to try, where possible, to step back from the label. I may choose to be vegan. Do I need to call myself a vegan? Or do I just make choices and live a lifestyle a certain way? On the same note, I don't want to be ashamed of the choices I make and then my lifestyle and not feel like I need to hide it. I've struggled for a while to come under the label of a Christian, because actually the connotations of what that means to so many people is not what I am. It's not what I believe. It doesn't free me in my faith. It restricts me. It makes me want to run a mile. And I meet many, many people who call themselves Christians, and I don't relate to that. I don't relate to them, their way of doing life, their faith expression. I find it quite limiting, quite claustrophobic. It's not where I'm coming from. And this is scary even telling you this now, because I know that actually there's several people that will find that difficult, me saying that. But it's the truth. The truth is, I find it difficult to say I am a Christian. I know what I believe. I know why I believe it. I know where I'm going with it, how I live that through, and it's solid, and it's deeply powerful. My faith is a massive grounding part of my life. It's where everything comes from, and it's where everything goes back to. But actually, you need to know me, and you need to be able to talk to me to understand that. You need to be in relationship with me, because if I just told you, if you said, "Are you a Christian?" I would honestly not know really how to answer that. Because if you're not in relationship with me, I just know you're going to put on the label of being a Christian with your understanding, your worldview. And when I look around what's around me, I can't relate. Actually, it makes me feel creepy. It's not my thing. So that is a label I'm struggling with. I was with someone recently who was talking about a very normal situation that she's got with her children, and they've been given several labels each. And when she was talking to me in that moment, I felt the restriction of that. I could see that it was helpful on one hand, but I felt the restriction of it. I think no matter what's going on for a child, coming back to the child thing, kids can feel our restrictions upon them when we label them. Even in the unspoken words, you may not say to your child all the time, "You have Asperger's, you have Asperger's. Oh, that's because you have Asperger's." We may not do that, but in the unspoken, and in how we speak to others, it all has a huge impact on the environment that you're in, on the way that we react, and the way that we behave in certain situations. A child picks up on the adults around them, on what they're feeling and what they're thinking and what's going on for them. It's massive. So the spoken word isn't even the important issue in that moment. The child will sense and know all that is unspoken. You know, it's our body language, it's our vibe, it's the tone of our voice, it's our own restriction with labels that we have and that we've been given to work with and that we are being asked to adapt to. I'm wondering if once we have a label, I'm wondering if we then give enough time and if we have enough permission to be free of that label and let the child explore their natural passions and their natural ways. And actually, but perhaps that child doesn't have ADHD. Perhaps that child just is a very high fire personality. They're just on the go. They've got an agenda. They need to achieve it. Boom, boom, boom. And actually, that child doesn't sit to learn. That child actually needs to dance to learn, to hear the messages that are going on. I'm someone that finds it very hard to sit still and learn something. I need to be moving. I need, if I could have some music in the background, if I could be swinging my hips, boom, 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 I'm more likely to listen to what you've got to say, remember it and learn it. I'm not ADHD. I've got a lot of energy. I fit in a lot in a day. And maybe I have got ADHD, but I don't care. It's just me. It's just who I am. Don't restrict me by that. Let me be free so I can find out what I'm passionate about. I can learn and grow and break free. Don't bring those barriers down. I think if we have a fixed theory of intelligence, or a fixed theory of behaviour, or a fixed theory of socially appropriate, we're immediately going to struggle. It just doesn't allow us to be us. It doesn't allow our children to be who they were created to be. I think we need to get away from any fixed thinking, and we need to throw open the doors and just allow people to be without the labels. And let's be in relationship with those people. We may not understand a set of behaviours. We may not like them. Let's get closer to that person to understand it, therefore. Or let's not. But let's not label them and limit them and talk behind their back about that in a way that we don't truly understand because we haven't got the relationship. Let's just let it be free. With all these things, it's just things I'm exploring. I'm just talking about, my reactions in the moment, my thoughts in the moment. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure of any of it. I'm just throwing the leaves up in the air of just reactions that I get, thoughts that I'm thinking, exploring, questioning, learning. And it's interesting how, the messages I get back from people help me to understand other people's point of view and to be open to that. And it would be really good to hear about someone who's found a label really helpful, actually, really freeing. And there will be those cases. There will be people whose label has really helped them. I'm obviously, my background in mental health therapy, I've had, conversations with people who've been labelled as a self-harmer. That's been really difficult. Labels of alcoholism, drug addict, an abuser in a case where it turned out that he was actually innocent of that. It was a false accusation, but that label that he had to prove for 18 months ruined his life. So I'm coming from that as a background. But actually in everyday life, maybe some labels are helpful. And it's good. It's good for us to have that dialogue. And I'm up for that. I'm up for that discussion. I love a book. If you ever get the chance, I'm not going to read it to you because I know it's annoying when I do that. And it's a long one. But it's called The Velveteen Rabbit by Marjorie Williams. I mean, I love this book. It's well worth reading to yourself, to your kids, to yourself. But I just want to read 2 pages. It's about toys becoming real, in a nutshell. What I love about this is just the essence of let's just be in relationship with each other, and let's just love each other, and warts and all. And by the time we really understand what that means, it won't look like anything like it did at the beginning. That's kind of one of the things I take away from this book. But I'll just read you just 2 pages and see what you take away from it. "What is real?" asked the rabbit one day, when they were lying side by side near the nursery fender before Nana came to tidy the room. "Does it mean having things like buzz inside you and a stick-out handle?" "Real isn't how you are made," said the skin horse. "It's a thing that happens to you. When a child loves you for a long, long time, not just to play with, but really loves you, then you become real." "Does it hurt?" asked the rabbit. Sometimes, said the Skin Horse, for he was always truthful. When you are real, you don't mind being hurt. Does it happen all at once, like being wound up? He asked, or bit by bit. It doesn't happen all at once, said the Skin Horse. You become. It takes a long time, and that's why it doesn't often happen to people who break easily, or have sharp edges, or have to be carefully kept. Generally, by the time you are real, most of your hair has been loved off, and your eyes drop out, and you get loose joints, and you're very shabby. But these things don't matter at all, because once you are real, you can't be ugly, except to people who don't understand. I suppose you are real, said the Rabbit, and then he wished he'd not said it, for he thought that Skin Horse might be sensitive. But the Skin Horse only smiled. The boy's uncle made me real, he said. That was a great many years ago now. But once you are real, you can't become unreal again. Just a tiny section of this book. And I just love that. And when I think about my concerns about the labels for myself that I'm going through at the moment, and the labels around me, and the people who I hear use labels regularly as a way of describing someone or something or a situation, I'm just wanting to remember this point that it's about a journey of just being loved and accepted for who we are without the label, and working out how to be in relationship with each other, just knowing each other, just getting to know each other, the quirks, the things that wind us up, the ways to make each other happy, when to avoid each other, when to have time out, when to be close, when to touch, when to step back, being in relationship. And yeah, you can't do that level with everybody. That would be impossible. So it's about choosing your community, gifting yourself to the community, and actually allowing each other to become real. That is my ultimate aim and gift, to be real and to allow others to be real. And I'm going to do a vlog very shortly on something that we're developing in the background of everything else I'm doing in life. That is an expression of that in a community setting. It's on its way. I will be vlogging about it soon. Whatever labels you may or may not be dealing with today, I hope that someone today allows you the freedom of being real. Have a good weekend.